The day my boss fired me, I was still covering for his mistake. I remember the sound of the air conditioner more than his voice. A low, steady hum, like it didn't care that my life was about to change. "You're easily replaceable," he said. Mark didn't shout. He never did. He said cruel things calmly, like they were facts from a manual. I nodded. That's all I could do. My throat was tight. My hands were cold. A cardboard box was already waiting by the door. Someone had planned this better than I had planned my whole future. I picked up the box. My coffee mug. A framed photo of my sister and me. A notebook filled with years of work no one ever thanked me for. I walked out without saying a word. 6 months later, his company was under investigation, and my name was on every document. But back then, all I felt was shame. I started working for Mark when I was 26. I was young, broke, and scared of failing. The office felt huge back then. Glass walls, gray carpet, that smell of printer ink and burnt coffee. Mark shook my hand on my first day and smiled. "We work hard here," he said. "But if you prove yourself, you'll be fine." I wanted to be fine so badly. At first, he liked me. Or at least, he acted like it. "You're reliable," he told me during my first year. "You don't complain." That became my role. The one who didn't complain. I stayed late when others left. I answered emails on weekends. I fixed mistakes quietly and never pointed fingers. When something went wrong, Mark would call me into his office. He would lean back in his chair, fold his arms. "Wait." The silence always broke me first. "I'll handle it," I'd say, even when I didn't know how yet. The real problem started years later. It was a Thursday. Rain hitting the windows hard, like it was angry. Mark called me before I even sat down. "Come to my office. Now." His door was closed. That was rare. There were papers all over his desk. Printed emails. Numbers highlighted in yellow. He looked nervous. "There's an issue with the compliance report," he said. My stomach dropped. That report had gone out weeks ago. Approved. Signed. "What kind of issue?" I asked. He hesitated. Just for a second. "They think we hid information." I scanned the papers. And there it was. A missing disclosure. One small line. The same line Mark had told me to remove months earlier. "It slows things down," he had said back then. "Trust me." Now he wouldn't meet my eyes. "I need you to say this was your decision," he said quietly. I felt heat rise in my face. "That's not true," I said. "You told me." He raised his hand. "Careful." Then he stood up and closed the door. "We're a team," he said. "This protects the company." I understood what he really meant. Protect me, or lose everything. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling while rain tapped the window. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it would be okay. The next morning, I signed my name. For a while, nothing happened. Mark acted normal, even friendly. But I noticed the changes. Fewer emails. Fewer meetings. My desk was moved closer to the hallway, like I was already halfway out. Then one Monday morning, HR emailed me. "Please come see us at 10 a.m. I knew. In the HR room, Mark wouldn't look at me. They talked about performance, about restructuring. Lies stacked neatly on top of each other. Then Mark said it. "You're easily replaceable." I left quietly with my box. And I had no idea that by firing me, he had just put his own name in danger. The first month after I was fired felt unreal. I kept waking up at 6 in the morning, heart racing, thinking I was late. Then I remembered. No job. No office. No Mark. My apartment was too quiet. No email notifications. No meetings. Just the sound of the fridge and the traffic outside. At first, I told myself it was temporary. I updated my resume. Applied everywhere. Nothing. Days passed. Then weeks. I started counting money. Rent. Bills. Groceries. I stopped buying coffee. Stopped going out. I learned how loud loneliness can be. Sometimes I'd sit on the couch and replay that meeting in my head. His calm voice. That word. Replaceable. I wondered how 8 years could disappear that easily. 2 months in, a recruiter finally called. She sounded cheerful. Too cheerful. Your background is impressive, she said. But there's a concern. My chest tightened. About what? There's a note in your record. About a compliance issue. I felt dizzy. That wasn't. I stopped myself. I didn't finish the sentence. I knew how this worked. We'll be in touch, she said. They never were. That's when I realized Mark hadn't just fired me. He had poisoned the ground behind me. By the 3rd month, anger replaced shock. I started remembering things I had ignored before. Emails Mark asked me to send from my account. Meetings where he stayed quiet and let me speak. Decisions he made verbally, never in writing. I opened my old laptop one night, the one I had used at work. I told myself I was just looking for files for my portfolio. That was a lie. I found emails, drafts, versions of reports with comments, and something else. A folder I didn't remember creating. Inside were backup files, autosaves, system logs. My hands started shaking. Every change, every approval, every timestamp. Mark's name was everywhere. I sat there for hours, scrolling, breathing slowly, afraid to hope. The 4th month was the hardest. I took a temporary job doing data entry. Windowless room, cheap chair, minimum pay. My back hurt. My pride hurt more. One night, as I walked home, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello, I said. There was a pause. This is Agent Harris, a man said. From the regulatory office. My heart stopped. We'd like to ask you some questions about your former employer. The street felt suddenly empty. I don't work there anymore, I said. We know, he replied. He sounded calm. Too calm. Your name appears on several key documents. I almost laughed. Almost cried. Can I have a lawyer? I asked. Yes, he said. That would be wise. For a week, I didn't sleep. I imagined handcuffs, courtrooms, my family watching. Then my lawyer looked at the files. He leaned back slowly. This is interesting, he said. I held my breath. You didn't cover this up very well, he added. Because you didn't cover it up at all. He pointed at the screen. These show who made the decisions, who ordered the changes. For the first time in months, I felt something crack open inside me. Hope. The 5th month passed in meetings. Investigators. Lawyers. Questions asked again and again. Each time, I told the truth. No anger. No emotion. Just facts. They listened. And slowly, their tone changed. They stopped looking at me like a suspect. They started looking at me like a witness. The night before the 6th month began, I got an email. From Mark. Just one line. We need to talk. I stared at the screen for a long time. This time, my hands weren't shaking that I didn't answer Mark's email right away. I let it sit there, unread, like a small act of control I had forgotten I was allowed to have. 6 months ago, I would have replied in seconds. Polite, careful, apologetic. Now I just stared at his name on the screen. That night, I barely slept. Not from fear, from memories. I kept seeing his office, the glass walls, the way he leaned back when he wanted power. In the morning, I finally replied. Talk about what? His response came fast. Please. It's important. That word again. Please. It felt strange seeing it from him. We agreed to meet at a cafe near the old office. Neutral ground. Public. When I walked in, I spotted him immediately. Mark looked smaller. Same suit. Same watch. But his shoulders were tense. His smile didn't reach his eyes. He stood up when he saw me. Thank you for coming, he said. I nodded and sat down. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The smell of coffee filled the space. Cups clinked. Life went on around us. Finally, he cleared his throat. There's been some confusion, he said. I waited. The investigation, he continued. They're asking questions. I looked at him calmly. They should, I said. His jaw tightened. Your name is on a lot of paperwork, he said. You know how this looks. I almost smiled.
I do, I said.
I've known for a long time. He leaned forward. This doesn't have to get messy, he said quietly. We can help each other. There it was. What are you asking me to do? I said. He hesitated. Clarify some things, he said. Take responsibility for decisions you were involved in. I laughed. A short, sharp sound. I already did that once, I said. It cost me my job. His face hardened. You signed those documents, he said. That matters. So do the emails, I replied. His eyes flickered. I stood up. This conversation is over, I said. As I walked away, my legs felt steady. That surprised me. 2 weeks later, the call came.
My lawyer sounded different this time.
Are you sitting down? He asked. Yes. They've expanded the investigation. I closed my eyes. Into what?
Fraud.
Retaliation. Wrongful termination. My heart started racing. And you? I asked. You're clear, he said. Completely. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. After we hung up, I cried. Not loudly. Just quiet tears I had been holding back for years. The 7th month felt lighter. I got a new job offer. Smaller company. Lower title. But the manager looked me in the eye when he spoke. We value honesty here, he said. I believed him. On my first day, no one yelled. No one blamed. I realized how tense I had always been before. How normal stress had felt like danger. Then the news broke. I saw Mark's company on my phone while standing in line for lunch. Under federal investigation, the headline read. My hands shook as I scrolled. Executive misconduct. Internal retaliation. Falsified reports. And there it was. A quote from a regulatory filing. Documents provided by former employee. Former employee. Not scapegoat. Not disposable. Witness. A few days later, Mark tried to call. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Some victories are quiet. When the investigation became public, people started reaching out. Not friends. Not family. Former coworkers. Names I hadn't seen in months. Some in years. Hey, I just saw the news. Hope you're doing okay. Crazy what's coming out, huh? I read every message slowly. Some of them had watched Mark destroy me and said nothing. Some had benefited from my silence. Some had warned me once, quietly, then backed away. I didn't answer most of them. I was finally learning that access to me was not automatic. At my new job, things were calm. Almost unsettlingly calm. People asked questions without accusing. Mistakes were discussed, not punished. Meetings ended on time. The first time my manager said, "That one's on me," I froze. I waited for the trap. It never came. One afternoon, I stayed late by choice. The office was quiet. Soft lights. The smell of cleaning spray. I realized something then. I wasn't scared anymore. Not of emails. Not of meetings. Not of silence. The investigators contacted me again in the 8th month. They wanted a formal statement. In person. The building was gray and heavy. Security at the door. Long hallways. I sat at a metal table with a cup of water I didn't touch. They asked me to walk through everything. From the beginning. I talked for hours. About the pressure. The missing disclosure. The meeting where Mark closed the door. No one interrupted. When I finished, one of them nodded slowly. You did what you thought you had to do, she said. But you also kept records. I swallowed. I didn't even realize why, I admitted. She looked at me carefully. People who are blamed unfairly often start protecting the truth, she said. Even if they don't know it yet. A month later, I heard Mark had been placed on leave. Then that he was no longer with the company.
No announcement.
No farewell email. Just gone. I expected to feel joy. Instead, I felt tired. Like I had been carrying a heavy bag for years and finally set it down. One evening, my sister called. I'm proud of you, she said. I sat on my couch, staring at the wall. For what? I asked. For surviving, she said. For not becoming bitter. That hit me harder than anything else. The legal process dragged on. Depositions. Documents. Waiting. Sometimes fear crept back in late at night. What if it changed? What if I was blamed again? But every time, reality held. The truth didn't move. Near the end of the year, my lawyer called one last time. "They're settling," he said, quietly. I closed my eyes. No admission of guilt, he added, but significant consequences. "And me?" I asked. "You're done," he said. "This chapter is over." I sat there long after the call ended, listening to my own breathing. A few days later, I walked past my old office building. Same glass walls. Same lobby. Different persons standing outside. I didn't go in. I didn't need to. A year after I was fired, my life looked normal from the outside. I had a steady job, a routine, a quiet sense of safety I had never known before. But inside, something had changed forever. I no longer rushed to explain myself. I no longer panicked when someone frowned in a meeting. Silence didn't scare me anymore. I had learned what it cost to stay quiet for the wrong people. One evening, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A formal notice. The investigation was officially closed. Several executives had been removed. The company had paid fines. New compliance leadership was installed. My name appeared once. Not as the cause, as the source. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time, holding that paper. I thought about the younger version of me, the one who stayed late, the one who said, "I'll handle it," even when it hurt. I wished I could tell them something. You are not weak for surviving, but you don't have to keep bleeding to prove your worth. A few weeks later, I ran into Mark. By accident. I was at a grocery store after work, tired, thinking about dinner. I heard my name. I turned. He looked older, grayer. His suit was cheaper. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he nodded. "I didn't think I'd see you," he said. "Neither did I replied. He looked around, like the shelves might be listening. "I never meant for things to go that far," he said. I studied his face.
He still wanted something.
Forgiveness. Relief. Closure. "I know," I said. He blinked. "You do?" "Yes," I said. "You meant for me to disappear quietly." He swallowed. "I was under a lot of pressure," he said. I smiled. Not kindly. Not cruelly. "Me too," I said. I picked up my bag and walked away. That was it. No speech. No victory line. Just the truth, finally spoken. That night, I slept deeply.
No dreams.
No replaying old conversations. Just rest. Sometimes people ask me if it was worth it. The stress. The fear. The months of not knowing. I tell them this. I lost a job, but I got my voice back. I learned that being replaceable is only a weapon when you believe it. Companies move on. Titles disappear. But integrity stays. I keep that old notebook now. Not as evidence. Not as proof. As a reminder that silence has a cost. And truth, even delayed, has weight. I wasn't powerful. I wasn't brave at first. I was just someone who survived long enough to stop lying for someone else. And that was enough.